Beyond the Wild.
Something you go out and 10 up it.
Yeah. 10 times up it.
August 2020.
Is that when it was? Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a day or two.
Man.
Yeah.
4.5 years. Crazy.
That was that was right in the middle of the pandemic, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when we were
That's
all
probably
kind of.
the only way we got you to slow down.
Yeah. That's been that has been the longest I stayed home since. Yeah. That was 2020, and I think we were able to get out there again in 21 a bit, but still we're kind of limited. But yeah, no, it's been thankfully, the world has been nice for the past few years, and we've been able to see a bit of it and do a few things. So it's been great.
That's it. The latest trip, though, we're going to get into that. But holy
All right.
smokes! I don't even know if that was the latest trip, but
right, exactly. But I mean, there's so many of them that are so cool.
Yeah.
It's so fun watching you and watching the adventures you guys go on. And one of these days we'll get out with you.
One of these days,
Yeah.
We gotta. I don't know how we do it. We gotta hit the lotto, and then we just get Beyond the Wild Eli Martinez trip.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah, I was just looking up a good song, good tune. They're looking up Traveling Man because you are on the move. But we probably can't play something on the show like that.
Snippet.
Oh, it's been fun, man. It's definitely sometimes, yeah, you look at what you get to do, and some of it, because I do a lot of these trips year after year, you tend to think of it as normal life, and you forget how special a lot of these animals are and a lot of these places are. But every once in a while, you get really reminded, and like on this last trip, of what a privilege it is to work with these animals and see them and see it in such a spectacular moment. So yeah, for sure.
I think going back to the one that I listened to today, we were having a little debate back and forth, unpopular opinions. And one of the questions was about, your photography business. And I think what gets lost a lot of times when people start thinking about wanting to make money at this is just exactly what you just said. It's how fortunate we are to even be able to observe the things that we get to see. And it's a privilege to be able to go back and share them with other people. And we are privileged tonight to have you back with us. I've been recording for a few minutes. You guys didn't know it, so I just thought, well, we'd let that baby roll because we were having some good pre-roll conversation. But Eli, thanks a bunch for coming back and spending some time with us again and sharing the adventures you've had since the last time. Mark looked it up. I don't know if we were recording then, but Mark, you said what was the date?
August 2020.
August 2020. So that's the conversation that you heard about the pandemic. That's the last time we caught up with Eli, and then he hasn't slowed down long enough since that time to catch up with him. But we just kind of observe and in awe of the adventures that you've been living. So,
man, I appreciate that.
So you were doing a lot of, when we talked last time, you had been guiding a lot for like Shark Week shows and things like that. You had just kind of started to dip your toe in the Dominican, I think, last time. When did you guys start going down there?
I think our first year was 21, which is
okay.
I believe it was 21 that the first time we went down there, and yeah, it was.
So maybe you were just
right
kind of
about that
talking
because,
about it, but
Yeah, and I don't even think I had been there yet. I think that was actually the first year we got our permits to get out there and see that place and see those animals. And I've been back there every year since, and spent a lot of time with them and got to really know these animals and got to see them yeah, in one of the most spectacular ways ever, which is that mating pod of animals. I think of 40 plus animals that were all together and just this one giant mating group and I don't think it's ever been filmed on this island before, animals, this many animals getting together, these many, families of animals that live on this island, and the guys that live and work there, they've never seen it before. So it was actually a pretty spectacular thing to witness.
So that's what kind of, I mean, always watch your stuff, Eli, but that you had a kind of side profile shot of this giant pod of sperm whales. And I was like,
Yeah.
we have to hear about that. We cannot let that go. But go ahead,
man,
Mark. Before we get into that, hang on.
No,
Okay,
no.
yes.
I think this podcast, this episode with Eli, I think you'd set it up before that. The timing just happens to be perfect. Wasn't this set up a few weeks ago, or the conversation about it, or was it just?
Yeah, but it was after he posted that initial picture of that giant pod. Yeah, there's been several images posted since then, but that
and
was,
videos.
I was like,
and,
we have, and video,
underwater videos, drone, the whole show. He got it, and just for our guests, or sorry, for our listeners out there, we're talking to Eli Martinez, and his Instagram is SDM Diving. Eli is killing it around the world, doing all kinds of tours and living life large. He's a traveling man. We just caught him back home in Texas to do this recording, and Eli has 265,000 followers on Instagram. And if you look at his page and the variety of places and the quality of his work, you'll see why very quickly. So we, as Ron said, are very excited to have Eli back and it's always a fun conversation. And Eli's just a great personality. And anyway, the sperm whale stuff is off the charts. I mean, it's I think right before, and maybe it caught it at the beginning of of Ron sneaking the podcast launch today, that, we travel, we hope for something spectacular to happen. And it does on some kind of scale in the wild. Spectacular things happen all the time. We just have to see it. But on occasion, you're in the right place at the right time. And for somebody who travels as much as Eli, this happens, and I can't wait to hear the story of this adventure.
So back to the story.
Good one, everybody. Yeah, sorry, Ron. Mark's excited.
So you guys, you've been going down there for a few years now. And so it reminded me, when I first looked at it, it reminded me like the clear water in Tonga and the heat run. And sometimes you get, multiple males chasing a female, but this was something completely different.
Yeah. Well, the day before we got that monster mating aggregation, we witnessed a heat run. There was we saw a bunch of whales. They were up deep and they came up to the surface. And when we jumped in, it was one female, a real flirty female, kind of rolling and dancing and just being playful. And behind her was about 10 males, all in hot pursuit, all of them trying to mate with this one female. And so this was I guess what you would consider a traditional heat run, like you see with the humpback whales, where it's one female, she's very flirty, and then there's a bunch of males just pushing each other and slamming up against each other, all trying to get in position to mate with this female. So we got to witness that. And I thought, we've been hearing the stories from the boys that live and work there about how the males come in and they just kind of like the Pied Piper, they attract all the females and then they all go offshore and they do their mating, and then eventually the females return to the island. But it's never been witnessed, at least in a gathering of this size before. So we saw the heat run on, I believe it was like a Wednesday, or I'm not sure what day it was, the 28th, I believe. And then on the 29th is when we got out there, we got to the area, and one of the other boats was calling our boat and saying, "Hey, you need to get over here, man. Something is really extraordinary happening. Just get out here as quick as you can." So we raced over, we got out there, and then we just saw, just blows everywhere. There's just whales all over the place. And we jumped in the water, and then there was just this massive aggregation of whales with the females. They average anywhere from 35 to 40 feet long. The males are 60 plus feet. I mean, they are monsters. And there was just these two giant whales kind of leading the females around, and the females were slowly following the males. And it was just like the gathering was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it was just, by the end of it, I mean, there was like 40 individuals all following these two big giant males. And they were just slowly hanging around, and I mean, just slowly swimming by. I mean, extremely slow. Like they weren't in a hurry. It was just the big males just slowly swimming, and females following them. And just to see that and to experience that, it was just, oh man, it was magic. And it was just something that, something you hear about, and you see photos, but to actually be the one in the water documenting it was, it's the stuff of dreams, man. It really was. Sorry, I had to take a second.
No, yeah, you need to take a breath for sure. Yeah. Ron just missed all that, so can you repeat it? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And it went on for a couple of hours too. It wasn't just like a quick encounter. It was like this aggregation of whales was just hanging around and just swimming in like very large, lazy circles. So they weren't actually going anywhere. They were just hanging around the area, and we were able to like get in the water with them, get back on the boat, kind of move it. We didn't have to move very far to get back in front of the animals, and then they would just let us off the boat again, and we would just wait, and the whales would just pass by us. And we just jumped in over and over again to opportunities where I even stopped jumping in. I took my drone up in the air, filmed it from the air, because I was telling myself, like, you got to get this from the air, man. You have to. But it was so hard to do that because like I just wanted to keep jumping in and wanted to keep taking photographs underwater. But I knew I was going to be kicking myself later if I didn't at least get one shot, one clip of drone footage of what I was witnessing from the air, because it was just, there was not a bad seat in the house, whether you're sitting on the boat watching it from the surface or in the air or underwater. It was magic was happening everywhere. It was pretty spectacular.
So maybe help for folks that don't understand, myself included, right?
Okay.
Why that is such a special encounter. Don't get me wrong, the amount of whales, that obviously is a clue to why it was so special. But is it rare to witness that mating behavior? Is that part of what made this encounter so special?
Oh, absolutely. So most of the time, what you see when you have sperm whales, they live in family units and family groups of anywhere from 6 to 15 individuals. And what you would consider a spectacular encounter with them is when the individuals, most of the time these whales, they're feeding and they're solitary. So even though they live in a family group, when they're hunting, they separate completely and they drop down and they go diving. And the waters around Dominica are anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 feet. And so these whales are dropping down and they're feeding on squid. And they'll go down hunting for anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. So the encounters that we usually get are in between these hunts when the whales come up to surface and warm up. They'll spend 10, 15 minutes on the surface and then they drop down again. So the whenever we see a whale on the surface, we motor over to it, we get in the water, the whale passes by us, and our encounter is usually, maybe a minute long if we're lucky, and then they pass us and they drop down again and they disappear for another 40 to 45 minutes. When they're done hunting, and sometimes you get lucky and the family gets together and they play around, they wrestle, they bite each other, they just kind of socialize, regroup, and then either will fall asleep or they'll separate again and they start hunting again. Those kind of encounters is what we all dream of, the socializing whales, because those encounters can be anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour long. And that's normally what you hope to encounter when you get around these sperm whales. So mating behavior is something that really nobody ever really gets to see, where you have, these, very flirty females with the males. The males usually want nothing to do with people. So anytime we see a male and we try to get in the water with them, they're gone. They take off. They want nothing to do with people. They never really do. So opportunities to see males are extremely rare. And then much less, around a bunch of females. And I've heard stories for a long time from the locals of how the males show up, and then what they do is they get the attention of the females, and then they lead them offshore and they go mate offshore. And then the females disappear for a few days. And, as the operators that are looking for whales to interact with, there's no whales left because the males take all the females away. And it's the majority of the whales that live around Dominica year round are the females. The males take off and they go to parts unknown, and then they only return for the mating, and then they disappear again. However, the females live around these islands year round. So this is why Dominica has become one of the best places in the world to see sperm whales, is because the females are here year round. And it's different families. There's a bunch of different groups that live here. Some of them will take off to different areas, but when they leave, other sperm whales come in. So it's a bunch of different families, and there's Unit A, Unit B, Unit C. The researchers have documented all the different families that live and mate in these areas. So they know the whales very well. There's a very well documented history of sperm whales around Dominica. So this behavior that we got to witness that day was extremely rare. It's never been seen by the people that live and work on these islands. It was just that spectacular. And we just happened to be there, to capture the event, to see and experience what a mating group of whales actually looks like. So yeah, pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds amazing. The images and the photos and the videos were unreal. I mean, it was just really cool. I've never seen anything like it. So I knew it was special. Yeah. I just was trying to understand better why, But
that's what I was going to say. No. Even without knowing the ecology or the biology of the situation, the images speak for themselves. And then to go back and understand just how rare an occurrence it is, it makes the images even that more spectacular. And yeah, congratulations. We all want to be there when that special thing happens, and rarely are. So
yeah. No, it was definitely a lot of my friends that all go out there each year. They were all congratulating me as well, just knowing how rare and special that encounter was. So yeah, so happy. So I mean, to be able to have experienced something like that is, it's, I don't know if I'll ever do it, ever get that lucky again, but, I'll take this one and forever have that in the back of my mind as something that was pretty exciting and very special to have witnessed.
You've definitely paid your dues, though. I mean, you spend a lot of time in the water. You're from Texas. We talked about this last time, and yet you find yourself in the water more than on dry land. It seems like if you look at your images, whether it's with Anaconda or the sperm whale with beluga whales. Saw you've had quite a few beluga encounters lately. And then as I'm walking through the Jacques Cousteau era, then all of a sudden there's a maned wolf that pops up.
Yeah.
And we just got back from Brazil in October, and we saw tracks, but didn't get to see a maned wolf. And I commented that on your image. I was jealous because that was one of the species that I definitely wanted to see. But you've done some Pantanal trips as well, or is that just Brazil?
No, yeah, no, definitely. We started going there to Brazil for the Anacondas, which is, one of the main reasons why I return to Brazil year after year. But, you cannot not go over there and not see the jaguars and the northern Pantanal and all the wildlife there. So we've been going there for years, and I started hearing these stories of this camp where the maned wolves have been sighted regularly, and they got a couple of habituated wolves that pass through that park at night. And I was like, as soon as I found out, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta see this. I gotta see this animal. It's just one of these really special, almost mystical beasts that live in our world, and to be able to see one out in the wild and see, even though it's an animal that's very comfortable around humans, this is just one of these really special exotic wolves that not many people have seen, and so yeah, truly a privilege to be able to get out there and see it and spend just a little bit amount of time with it, and it was definitely worth the wait, because it's a pretty neat wolf. I mean, weird but neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mark, I think you had something brewing there before I got off on the maned wolf.
Well, the maned wolf, you see that, right? And I only talk about the Instagram stuff, not due to any fixation, but the fact that it's a great way for all of you to see what we're talking about very readily. And you can see his very popular maned wolf post at the top of Eli's Instagram with like 33,000 likes. So that just speaks to the appreciation and rarity of that image, that people recognized it as such. Fantastic. What a very interesting looking canid. And the Anaconda stuff, 1.4 million likes on the video. What's that like for the 99.9% of the planet that haven't swam with a giant anaconda? What's that experience like?
The thing about the green anaconda, yeah, these snakes are, one of the main reasons I wanted to visit obviously there was so much, mystery and myth surrounding these animals. And I've always wanted to, that's just an animal I wanted to see in the wild. I wanted to dive. I wanted to experience it. I saw a friend of mine had taken this very iconic photo. And after that, I was fantasizing about wanting to be out there, wanting to experience this animal. And so when I finally did get to meet an anaconda, in the wild, in the water, and it acted exactly how I thought it would act, which is it was very shy, and all it was trying to do was hide. So after returning year after year and spending a lot of time with these animals, this is the one thing that I've learned about them, is that they're very shy, and all they're trying to do when you see them in the water is hide. And the challenge as a photographer and as a videographer is trying to capture images of this animal before it finds one of its hiding holes and disappears into it, because once it does, it's gone, and nothing you can do is going to coerce that animal out of its hole. And it just really, just helped for me debunk and destroy the myth surrounding these animals, and that Hollywood is, given this really bad reputation for such a beautiful and exotic snake. I mean, it's just like, it's a giant snake, but it really would prefer not to be seen and definitely not to be photographed. So, I mean, it is really a challenge, just because, these animals, when you find them, they're very territorial, and they spend all their time in certain parts of the river. They really don't stray far from their homes. So once they enter the river, they have like 7 or 8 different hiding holes throughout their territory that they can always go to. So if one doesn't work out, or they know exactly where the next one is. And so the goal is just swim alongside this animal and try to take pictures of it before it disappears on you. So yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, it's exciting, it's exotic, it's massive, and I mean, for the opportunity to be in the water with them is it's a privilege. But they're super shy, very, very shy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And a throwback. I mean, thinking about Jacques Cousteau stuff and the old National Geographic way back when we were kids, that was one of the things as a young boy that just struck me, was seeing the photos of them pulling an anaconda onto the shore. And back then it was dead, right? There were native indigenous people on one end of the snake and on the other pulling it up. And it was just the length of a school bus looking. And it was just amazing to imagine that. And now you are documenting it in a way to shine light onto the behavior and life cycle of this reptile in fantastic images, and just, it really says a lot that you are, the first question should have been, are you in the camera or sorry, are you in the water, or just your camera in the water? But you're in the water with your camera with the snake, right? So you obviously have to get familiar with the situation. The average person isn't going to say, hey, let's do this.
Yeah. And which is, we do spend a lot of time in the water, and the areas that we do visit in Brazil where these anacondas live is all private property. It's not like these are public areas where a lot of people spend any time. And and the areas where that do have a lot of public access, they really don't see the snakes there because there's too many people, too many eyes on it, and they either the snakes will leave the area just because they're disturbed all the time and they want nothing to do with people, and or they get killed off. And there's a lot of protection laws surrounding these animals where the flora and fauna is protected in Brazil, but still, people are people, and they see a big giant snake, and their first instinct is they want to kill it. I mean, that's how we've treated. It doesn't really matter what part of the world you live in. You see a snake, it has to die. And that's just that's our natural preservation. And and a giant snake that has a reputation of eating people is definitely going to be on somebody's chopping block if they get the chance to kill it. So the area that we visit, there is nobody out there. There's like no, I mean, it's really difficult to bring the gear that we bring on these expeditions, because we have to carry the boats into the water, and then oftentimes there's small waterfalls where we're in these little boats, but we get to these waterfalls and we have to take all the equipment out. We have to move the boats down these waterfalls and then get all the equipment back into these boats and then carry on. And all we're doing is looking on the sides of the river for any traces of the snake or any opportunities that maybe the snake is lying there basking in the sun or on the river's edge. And so it's a lot of work to actually find these animals. But once you do, and then once you do find them, it's, the trying to get the, photos or videos of these snakes before they disappear on you. So, then, the encounters are, it's hard work to get them. And then once you get them, most of the time the encounters are very short. So if you get an opportunity to see these snakes for long periods of time, you're really, really lucky.
And the water clarity is a challenge in and of itself. You guys are not in the clearest of water. I mean, you contrast that with what you see in the Dominica and Tonga and some of those other locations. The water clarity is got to be a barrier to getting good images along with the antisocial behavior of the subject.
Yeah, well, the rivers. I mean, well, some of the rivers, if we're down, like some of them are actually the visibility is really good. It's just the sediment, and if you don't have a strong flowing river, yeah, you're going to get a lot of buildup and a lot of dirt and a lot of sand, and anybody, and you try to stay off of the bottom because of the silt from the river bottom, and then, but once you see that snake and there's just all this excitement around it, because the window of opportunity to be in the water with him is so short that like you have to try to control the chaos long enough to get that photo or video.
That's awesome. You guys that's a special location in Brazil. I mean, for us anyway, not for the Brazilians, but for us, everything is just so different as far as the wildlife down there. And just to be able to see, we did see one yellow anaconda, but it was deceased, and it was just, it was floating in the river, and piranha were feeding on it, and
Oh, wow.
a jaguar had taken it, but didn't eat it because we saw it a couple days after the kill. But we didn't get to see any other snakes at all, and looked a lot. That was another one of the anaconda, tapir, and the Maine wolf are the big misses. So it's the only reason to go back for me.
Yeah, well, on that stretch of river where where we went to go see the maned wolf, because we had to go off the main river and get to where that camp was, and it took a couple of hours to get there. But in that that couple hour stretch where there was no people, we found about 4 or 5 tapirs along the way, which
really?
were kind of hanging out in the river. So it was kind of a bonus opportunity seeing get to see the tapirs actually swimming in the river. That's actually one of my dream photos is I've seen some people take some images of a tapir actually underneath the water, running along the bottom as it's crossing the river, but capturing
Like
a
a
photo
hippo.
of a tapir. Yeah, exactly. Kind of completely submerged is my dream photo of a tapir.
That's awesome.
Eli, it's funny scrolling through your pages, and it's always I don't know. I'm gonna just guess. I'm gonna say 95% of people would see a snake, like an anaconda, a shark, a crocodile, and most people would be perfectly satisfied with seeing them from the safety of a boat or from a TV screen or from, and you're the guy that actually sees a crocodile, a snake, or whatever, a shark, and you want to get into the water with it, which it goes against what most people would consider to be safe, right? But we talked about last time, I think that's one of the cool things about what you do, and I think it's part of your goal is to share these things with people, and you focus mostly on predators and things that have kind of a bad rap, if you will, quote unquote, and in hopes to educate people about their behaviors and the fact that they aren't just mindless killing machines, right? That there is a safe way to interact with these things. And some of your stuff's incredible. We didn't even touch on the sharks and the crocodiles yet, but I mean the crocodiles is one to me that's just like, that would be just so amazing to be in the water with an ancient dinosaur like that, point blank, face to face, something about that just intrigues me. But
Oh, and myself as well. That's yeah. I mean, destroying the myth of sharks and crocodiles and alligators and snakes is my life's work. It's definitely something that I've prided myself in as far as wanting to share the other side of these animals. Not what's practical, because it's not practical for somebody to just jump in the water with one of these animals if they don't know what they're doing, but what's possible. And that's kind of the idea behind a lot of what we do is just like showing, like the other side of a tiger shark or the other side of a great white, or a crocodile. I mean, if for years it was thought that it was impossible to swim with tiger sharks outside the cage, and then people started doing it, and then they said, okay, well, you can do it during the day, but you can't do it at night. And then people started diving with tiger sharks at night, and they're like, okay, well, you can do that with a tiger shark, but you can't do it with great whites. And then people started diving outside the cage with white sharks, and they're like, okay, well, you can do that with white sharks, but you can't do it with crocodiles. And it just like, so it's like, it was, just always kind of debunking these myths surrounding these animals that, like it is possible to safely interact with, different species of animals if you follow the rules and if you, go with people that know what they're doing and put yourself in an environment where, you're going to be safe. You're not going to go into the river with an alligator and there's zero visibility. I mean, it's you'd be a fool and you're going to get hurt. It's going to happen. But if there's plenty of visibility, if you can see the animal and if you got a good spotter and it is possible to safely get in the water with one of these animals and take photographs of them and then come out of the water and share the story, share the experience. But there is some preparation that goes into diving with any species of predatory animal. Whether it's an orca or if it's a crocodile or a shark. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say, looking for those of you watching on YouTube, looking right over the top of your head, there's a orca image, and I think you spend some time in the same place. Our friend Jens Wikström. He is from Sweden.
Okay.
And he goes up in northern Norway and dives with them. He's got this epic doubles, or I can't remember, Jason, if it's a double or triple spy hop, and then it's this beautiful sunset sky right behind all three of the animals. And he's in the water with them all the time. But that image right there was pretty epic. And I think you guys probably are in some of the same water. I don't know for a fact, but.
Oh, I have no doubt. But yeah, if it's Norway, yeah, that's one particular area that, off of Tromsø and Sjøvoy. I'll probably butcher the name as always. But yeah, during the herring run, that's, everybody goes to these areas for these animals. And it has been, it's an absolutely spectacular place, and it's hard to take a bad photo there just because you have 3 hours of light and you have sunset colors and sunrise colors just all happening for those 3 hours of light. So you just have beautiful skies, and then you got humpback whales and orcas and finback whales all feeding on the herring in these areas, and it just like the scenery, the backdrop of the mountains and the snow. I mean, it just makes for postcard images anywhere you look in that area. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you pay a price because it's cold. Like you're miserable. It's cold. The water's cold, and I mean, it's just like it's. My buddy Chris described it as the best worst thing he's ever done. So.
That's a good descriptor for a lot of situations we find ourselves in. But
absolutely.
So Eli, what are? You've got those locations locked down. Some of them. What are some of the new things that you've been doing lately?
New things. I'm always on the lookout. I think one thing I'm pretty excited about, which I believe you guys have done a lot of, which is I'm going up to Katmai this year for the first time for brown bears. And, I'm going actually with Scott Stone, which I'm pretty excited about, sharing some time in his world and I've never been before. I've never met those bears, so I'm pretty excited about getting out there and meeting them for the first time and seeing that world.
We'll be there either before or after you, depending. I don't know, but
okay. It's I've spent some time with black bears in North Carolina and then off at Churchill. A lot of time with the polar bears there but the brown bear, that's just the one that, I never really had a chance to meet. And I'm pretty excited about that spot and pretty excited about, seeing these big old bears doing what they do in those waters.
I don't know when this is going to come out, but we want to make sure that we mention if you have not, make sure you enter in the Bear Camp giveaway with Scott and Jackie Stone. Most generous most generous event in wildlife photography. That's what I'm going to start calling it, because they're giving away a complete trip up there. They do
Yeah,
some good things.
hopefully someone who doesn't get a chance to explore much, because life sometimes gets in the way, but somebody well deserving wins it, because that is a magical trip, amazing animals and amazing people. So yeah, that would, hopefully somebody wins that one, gets really, really lucky. What a privilege.
For sure.
Definitely
Now, are
great
you
giveaway.
yeah, for sure. Are you taking a group up there, or are you going up as just a trip for you?
Yeah, no, I'm taking a small group with me on that one. Yeah, I just just so that's kind of how I what we will do is I look at some places, some special spots, and I'll put it out to a few friends and say, hey, we're going up here. Anybody interested? I've never been before. Looks like a pretty special place, and then I'll get a few people that want to check it out, want to see what it's all about, and then we'll go up and explore together. Sometimes we did that. I think in 23, I went up to the Himalayas for snow leopards and got to experience that, which was phenomenal just to see those animals and be up there in that environment. Challenging just to get there. Just getting there was an adventure in itself. Forget seeing the animals, but just trying to get up those mountains and with some of those kamikaze drivers that took us up there. It was pretty wild.
Well,
Awesome.
that's
Jason,
what I
I
was
cut
just-
you off.
No, I was just going to say, is it safe to say that you started with the predators and the waters, and then you're expanding to just predators in general? It seems like you've done about half and half over the last couple years, anyways, between bears and snow leopards and jaguars and other black brown bears, which you're going to do, polar bears. So is that true? Am I stating that correctly? You've kind of morphed from just doing the water stuff to doing both now?
Yeah, I still think we're maybe like 70-30, still doing water stuff, but the 30% that we do, yeah, it's definitely a focus on the predators. I think that that's just, I mean, they just call me like nothing else. Like I just like the opportunity to see these large animals and a lot of times misunderstood. And obviously land animals are way different. They have way different tolerances and way different behaviors than ocean animals or water animals, where, you can't do the same things that you can with an ocean, like with a shark, interacting with a shark you just can't do that on land with a bear. It's just not going to happen. But,
What do you mean? You mean to tell me you can't put a bear in a trance and hold it by its nose upside down? Come on, man. The challenge is there, Eli. The challenge is there.
No, I mean, well, like underwater, the images that I really love is where there's basically no blue between me and the animal. Like it's just you want to be as close as possible. So everything we shoot underwater is wide angle. However, on land, everything's long lens and complete. So you have to, get used to, different styles of photography, trying to, you have to respect these animals and you have to respect what they're capable of and follow the rules, because you don't want to become a statistic or, put the animal in a position where, that the animal hurts the person and then, they have to euthanize the animal because of it. That's just not, it's not, it goes against everything that you try to do when you go out to these places. And, you have to try to respect them, respect the locals, respect the wildlife, and as much as you can, but it's completely different photography, completely different styles of photography as far as, how close you can get to the animal and, and rightly so, but still a lot of fun.
So there's long lens work on land. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Mark and let him ask that question. Then there's really long lens work on land, and you're trying to get to the snow leopards. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like that could be an entire podcast. There's so much material, but that trip would be as, I mean, the word epic just came to mind with the sperm whale trip, and I know historically it's overused, but in this case, no, we're going to just keep rolling with it. The snow leopards in the Himalayas would be an epic adventure on planet Earth, and you've done it. You've had success. You have the images to prove that you saw them, and but as you said a moment ago, just getting there, the challenge of the travel, and then kamikaze drivers. I mean, I have question marks floating above my head.
Yeah, well, it was I've was working on this kind of a behind the scenes video of just stuff we do for our website and our YouTube channel, and I was putting together just a driving sequence, and I had I'd completely, maybe I blocked it out or maybe I just forgot about it, but actually going through some of the the iPhone footage as we were driving up, and I'm looking, like, as I'm driving, I'm kind of looking at the footage and seeing that some of the, I mean, just the sheer drop offs of some of these cliffs that we were driving, as we're going up, because it took 2 days to get from, from the airport to the actual town of Kibber where we were staying during our time up there. And it was just like this crazy maze of mountains. And like, it was, absolutely spectacular. There was, I mean, just visually, it was phenomenal. But when you see some of these areas and, like some of the places that they're driving us through in these little tiny cars, and you're just like, man, it was, yeah, it was very, very sketchy. And the drivers are just so nonchalant about it. Like it's normal for them. And, they drive, these roads every day. But for us, I mean, it was just, our hearts were in our stomach, a lot of the times of the drive, just like watching this. And I was just, many times thinking, I'm in over my head on this one. I really am in over my head. It was pretty sketchy, but worth it. So worth it.
That's the new experience thing, though, right? We're so out of our element, and when you're saying that, the first thing comes to mind is like, yeah, I'm in the water with the crocodile with Eli, and I'm feeling the same way as you are, driving up that hill at the mountainside, because it's just, if you do it every day or you're not used to it and become accustomed to it, know the routine, then it becomes, you're obviously always watchful, but it's accepted. You roll with it, and that it's such a new experience. But yeah, that would be knuckle imprints on the door for sure. Yeah, on the doorknob there. But so was the snow leopards, where you photograph them, is that at altitude? Is the air thinner there, or is it up that high?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It was, so we were around 15,000 feet and averaged anywhere from 14 to 15,000 feet for the entire time that we were there. When we were photographing the snow leopards or, the ibex or the blue sheep. And, we would average between those two heights, I guess. And so, yeah, it was tough because, I mean, we would drive, like they had these the guides that were out there. They would go every morning right before the sun would rise. They were already out in the spots looking, scouting for the cats, and then they would radio us and like say, hey, we got a cat over here, and then so we would jump in the vehicles, and then we would drive to those spots, and then we would have to hike to from our vehicle to wherever it was that they sighted the cat. And some of those areas, some of the hikes that we had to do were very intense. I mean, it was real hiking, and like where you take 3 or 4 steps and you have to stop just because you're so winded from, the altitude and, just, trying to get from point A to point B. And it was just, a lot of them were short distances, but still it was, I mean, it was a lot of work. I remember, I was sitting there and we were actually at the end of a day, I was climbing a small hill to get back to the vehicle, and I had to stop to sit down to catch my breath. And there was this elderly lady that was walking up the hill. And, as she was passing me, she, commented to one of, I guess my Sherpa, the guy that was helping me out. And she said something, and he just started laughing his head off. And I knew it had to do with me sitting down and me being exhausted, and And so I really didn't like that lady after that. But she
Flatlander.
just, yeah, exactly. I knew she was making a jest at my expense, but I was just like, I mean, they live there. They do that every day, all day. So, but it's tough, man. I mean, 15,000 feet. It's hard to breathe.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
be a big
and
part of
with gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
challenge wise, obviously you've got people out there spotting the cats, but it doesn't necessarily, just because you know where they're at, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get an image. How successful were
no.
you guys?
We saw the cats. I believe we saw them. We were there for 9 days, and we saw them 4 out of 9 days. And then I think our first day we had 4 different cats. We had a mom and 2 cubs, and then a male cat that were in the area. They had killed a blue sheep, so they were hanging around this spot. And that one we were shooting with 800 minimum. You needed at least an 800 to get the images because the cat was really far away. But we did manage a few photos that and I think of our 4 days, that's probably the images that I liked the best from that one day. There was plenty of light, so we were able to really take advantage of that and get the images that we were hoping to get. I mean, obviously, I wish the cat was closer. I wish that I had better lenses, and I mean, there's always this wish factor once you're up there and out there, and just you really don't know what to expect until you're in the moment, and but it was still a very successful trip as far as capturing a few images that I was really happy with, and I was able to tell a story with at least. And yeah, so it was good. It was real good. I think those guys, man, the guides and the boys that go out there and spot the cats for you, man, they are priceless. They're so good at finding those cats, man. Because you're talking that you need some of the lenses, you need at least 1,200 millimeters just to see some of these cats. I mean, because they're so far away, and with just a pair of binoculars, these guys can find them, man, and they're so good at them. And they're like, they're pointing it out to you, and sometimes they'll grab your camera and help, find the cat for you. And because, I mean, you're just looking and looking, you see nothing. You have no idea how they saw them, or, they're like, yeah, I see that little brown thing right next to the rock. That's just, I see that his ear is sticking out, like right there. You're like, what? Like, what are you looking at? I have no idea what you're looking at, but yeah. They're really good at spotting the cats.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jason, are you still looking at pictures? Because you're just sitting there shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, so just a side note, right? I mean, one cool thing about following Eli's page, and there's a good reason he has so many followers, is he does incredible work. He's got incredible experiences and incredible animals, but he posts a lot too. And so there's no shortage of just awesome stuff almost every day that he's putting up on his page. So, I mean, truly, I mean, if you guys want to see one of the coolest varieties of all predators, large, small, land-based, water-based, whatever, I mean, you're missing out if you're not following his page. It's just incredible. And an incredible experience after incredible experience after incredible image or video, or it's just, I mean, I'm literally just scrolling back. I haven't been on social media as much as I'd like. Well, that's not fair. I haven't been on social media as much, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. But I'm seeing some of the things that I've missed over the past couple of years, and it's just incredible. Yeah, I'm over here just shaking my head at just how amazing it is. So don't miss out.
Appreciate that.
Follow his page, and even better, if you want to have one of these amazing experiences, you know who to get a hold of. So
that's right.
I appreciate that.
I mentioned that I had a deposit with some operator for an amazing experience for my wife, and it's been floating because of pure timing, but it's with Eli, and it's for the Tonga for humpback whales. The timing, I study Eli's website and watch for the dates, and it just bumps up to our caribou tours right to the time, and Carrie and Pilly's so involved with those tours. But it's we had a couple on a tour this year, and I said this on that recent episode, that they said that, for somebody who loves humpbacks, Tonga's a place she's got to get there. So I was even encouraging her, like this last week, seeing that Eli had space for this year, trying to convince her that this is the time, and I'll be fine and all that stuff. But we haven't been able to, I've been able to convince her to do it. But she desperately wants to. In Tonga, the humpbacks there, the experience from people I know that have scubaed a lot and a tremendous variety of experience around the world, said that was one of their highlight destinations to experience the humpback whales. And I just want to ask quickly, because of the tsunami and what happened in Tonga, how are things going with recovery there, and what's the current situation? I mean, I would love to go with her, to be honest. It's just a matter of balancing. And if it, could you like move it to June?
Well, yeah, it's I wish I could. The animals just aren't there. Like they're there for a very short amount of time, and that's just not the time that they're there. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out, man, because it's definitely it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're gonna get her on some animals that she's gonna be really excited about. That's for sure. But
so things are moving along with the recovery, though, right? I mean, I know
oh
it was
yeah. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Like from last year, yeah, absolutely. They thankfully. Hapai is doing really, really well, and the people there are doing really, really well, and it's it's just one of the kind of the price of living in paradise. You're going to have to pay it sometimes, and unfortunately, that's when nature when she goes through there. I mean, she goes through hard, and thankfully they're doing all right, and everybody's good, and the place is doing really well. So, yeah.
Well, it's good to hear. I hope it continues to progress. And yeah, right. Yeah. Nothing else disturbs it in the meantime, for sure. But yeah, as Jason was pointing out, I mean, the variety of places that you travel to, you're clearly super ambitious, fearless traveler, photographer. I mean, from the mountain gorillas to Norway to gray white sharks and whale sharks and even like gray whales. I mean, that's super cool. You don't see that very often, right? Or out in the open water with the mahi and baha was it the
Marlin?
Marlin,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Marlins? I mean, how fun would that be? Photographically.
Marlin
it's
on a
phenomenal.
bait ball. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a spectacular show as far as the Marlin bait ball and the what you see happening out there is every year the sardines run through there, and you have striped marlin, you have sailfish, you have mahi, you have tuna, you have yellowfin tuna coming into these bait balls, dolphins, sometimes occasional shark, whales actually go through the bait balls as well. I mean, you have just so many animals, so much life all attacking these bait balls, and you just never know what you're going to jump in with, and what's going to happen and when, and it's just one of the most exciting shows in the world. I think Africa rivals it with the sardine run up in Africa, but the sardine run in Mexico is one of the greatest shows underwater, bar none. It's a phenomenal place, a phenomenal amount of wildlife in one area during a certain time of year. It's been, and thankfully it's been happening year after year after year, and it just seems like it gets better and better with each year that we visit. You just see something else is starting to join the amount of animals that are in the water during this time of year. It's phenomenal. So,
what a life.
Yeah. So I have my list is just about every animal on the planet.
I have one of those
that
lists
I
too.
right, yeah. But the difference is you're checking them off at a pretty rapid
Yeah,
rate. Not
yeah.
only the
I'm trying
animals, but
to.
the behaviors of each species. Yeah, it's inspiring, Eli. And
Yeah,
ever
well,
since, and the other piece of that is from, I mean, we haven't spent time with each other in the field, but from the time that we have talked, you're one of the most humble, genuine people that I've met, in this industry. And so that makes it even more appealing to go and do some of these adventures with you, just to go have fun and meet somebody that's just down to earth. For
I
everything that
appreciate
you've
that. Thank
done,
you.
a lot of people get fairly cocky having done what you've done and seen what you've seen and that type of thing. And no, I greatly appreciate that humility and just lightheartedness as you go through life.
Oh, no, I thank you. I really appreciate that. You had said something which actually is something that I think, well, all of us deal with is not spending enough time out there. I think that's one of my problems, or one of the things that I wish I could spend more time with these animals, because you don't really get to know them. You go in there for a week or you go in there for 2 weeks, but it's really not enough time to really get to see behavior and personalities. And it's just like that, I think, is the key to really great photography and is capturing these epic moments that very few people get to see and or experience. Because unless you actually live there and you're there week after week after week, then you get to see all those very special moments that, like someone gets lucky. Like, when I was with the sperm whales, we got lucky because we were out there, but that stuff just doesn't happen all the time. And so when you do capture or get to see and experience some really rare moment in nature, it's one of the greatest feelings on the planet. And just like, and I know that, all of us as photographers, that we've all had, our moments that, will, that will stay with us forever, just because we know we're never going to see it again. And I think that, that's something that, drives us to keep returning to these places, because you're always happy for that one more time. Just give me one more time with these animals like that. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah, it's definitely the case. Always striving for that, those relive those memories, but cherish them at the same time. And I think something that's really cool is that some of your, I don't know what the right term is, they're not diehard guests that go on tours with you. They get the tat, man. You have people who love you and your tours so much that they get the tat. They get the fin tat that's
yeah,
on your hat, right?
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's cool.
That is the most unexpected and probably one of my most cherished memories or moments, and of the people that follow our journey, or have become like family for us in many ways. Is yeah, they've embraced what we do. They embraced my logo, our Tibby, and have made it part of their art and on their bodies. And like how how do you not, like it's there's no words for when that happens, or when when someone sends me a picture of that they just had it done. And that, man, that is so special. And I'm truly forever humbled for that. And yeah, it's can't find the words for that, really. It's cool.
Speaks volumes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All the kinds of things I want to say, but I'm not going to. I think it's awesome. I mean, it just like it speaks volumes of what their experience meant and how they feel about you personally that they do that, right?
Yeah.
So words aren't necessary. It's so being a photography podcast. Just quickly, too, what are you shooting for underwater these days? What housing do you recommend, and how when somebody's going on a trip with you who hasn't done huge pod of mating sperm whales before and dream of that experience and don't have, they have their big telephoto for bears and moose and caribou, what would you recommend that they do or get from Pictureline in our case
Yeah.
for supplies? What gear is for somebody signing up with that question? Would you suggest?
Man, if you're not doing a lot of underwater photography, I never recommend somebody go out and get a big rig. Just a GoPro and a GoPro housing, I think is probably, I mean, those cameras are so good and they capture the underwater world so well that, I mean, it just like, if you're just passing through and you're not going to spend a lot of time underwater, I reckon that camera is so forgiving, and people that buy the latest one, and they come back with just spectacular footage, or even some of the frame grabs that they can get from their footage. I mean, there's no need to spend a whole fortune on an underwater rig unless you're going to spend a lot of time in the water. Then I recommend going out and getting one of the latest, mirrorless cameras, and then invest in a housing. And I've always used an Aquatica housing. For me, they're bulletproof, and my camera that I've had her for quite a few years, and I've been really happy with her. And I shoot with a 5D Mark IV right now with an 8 to 15 mil fisheye lens, and she's been really good to me. And I haven't. I mean, I have an R5 that I use for topside, and for stuff that and I haven't bought an underwater housing for it yet because my 5D has just been so good to me, and I've been really happy with what I'm getting. But at some point, I know I'll eventually will upgrade and buy a housing for the R5. But I think, right now, I'm just like, there's still a few bugs in the R5 that I'm not like completely confident in taking her underwater. And then I'm worried that, with like sometimes with the R5, if she, there's an error, you can take the battery out and, really quickly and make a few adjustments, and then I can go back to shooting. But if you're underwater and you get some kind of error, like that's it. Shoot's over. You're going to have to come back to the boat. You're not going to be able to do anything underwater to fix your rig. And my 5D Mark IV, she's been bulletproof, knock on wood. But, she's been so good to me through the years that, I just, as of right now, just, no need to upgrade until, these, some of these kinks in the mirrorless systems, fix themselves, or, there's a debugging program that I feel confident in, and taking her underwater with me.
No, it's great advice. And GoPros, I mean, they're waterproof, so you don't recommend any additional housing, right? They just use them as you buy them, or would you recommend getting something? I mean, you have to have an attachment. I learned that in my first trip, to Australia. Was hand holding it isn't ideal because you can slip and drop it. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you want it attached to you somehow, or have more to hold on to, strap, etc. But you just run with the GoPro. It doesn't require additional housing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it depends. So you don't need a housing for it if you're just snorkeling. But if you're on scuba, you definitely recommend a housing, a case for the GoPro to protect it. Or if you're in colder water, because the batteries tend to freeze up on you, and the battery life just dies on you if you're in colder environments. So a housing will increase the life of your battery if you're in colder environments. If you're in colder water, you definitely want a housing for that. But anything more than 10 feet, you definitely want to put a casing on your GoPro for sure. And then, they sell these, everywhere they have these little handles that you should pick up when you buy your GoPro, just because it'll help you, you can focus your camera, or you can hold on to it while you're grabbing footage, and it just, make sure you don't drop it, because some of them are floaty. So if you drop it, it's going to float right back to the surface, and you won't lose it.
Eli's pro tips.
Right.
Good one. Oh, the battery in the cold. I didn't think of that right away. So you want to protect this. I mean, I personally, my GoPro batteries have not lasted as long as I'd like them to, right? So I always have extras. But if you're underwater, you can't pop it and change it, as you point out. So insulate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I've just sometimes I've tried it in Norway, and man, the second it hits that water, battery's gone. So with a housing, they definitely last a little bit longer, and give you an opportunity to capture a little bit of footage before it'll freeze up on you and turn off. Yeah.
We use those white batteries in Churchill, and they do pretty well. But it's not winter time. It's just, end of summer. But they last.
Okay. Is that when you?
They last.
Is that when you've been
hours.
going to? Okay.
September, yeah.
Okay.
Mid-September to get that autumn tundra color.
It's beautiful out there. It's one of
it is.
That's one of my favorite places on the planet is Churchill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing.
What are the white batteries? I haven't heard of that. Sorry.
They're supposed to be extended duration, so about 1.5 times, and then they're supposed to be better in cold weather.
And they're GoPro brand?
They're GoPro brand, yep. They're just, how the batteries have blue on the back of them, but Pictureline sells the different batteries that have the white, and those are the extended life batteries, and they're meant for cold. So
good to know. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. They cost a little bit more too.
I didn't either.
Exclusively, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Now I got to go buy some white batteries.
Yeah. But Eli, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your more than busy schedule to come visit with us. It's been way too long, and hopefully it won't be another 4 years before we get you back on.
Oh, I'd love to do it again, man. Anytime.
And hey, I gotta just share something too, just on kind of as we part ways here, before we let Mark wrap up. I just going way back on your page, and there's a meme that somebody created, I think, with you, and it says, "You may be cool, but you'll never be high five a frickin' shark cool." And I'll just add, unless you book a trip with Eli. So
that was that was actually the first. Well, that image went viral and had something like 100 million views or something. It was just it went crazy for a little while, and then somebody came up with that meme, and oh man, I love that meme. I thought that was just oh,
it's great.
Yeah, so
it
cool.
Just says it all. I'm going to share it out to the gram, to the world there. So anyways, you guys got to go check out his stuff. Mark, I'll let you do it. Take away. I love talking. I love catching up with you, Eli. It's a pleasure. I really do appreciate you letting us take some of your time. So
no, absolutely. It was a privilege, man. Thank you so much.
I look forward to the day meeting you in person, and I can some people you can just feel the energy. With Eli, the positive energy, the fact that he travels and experiences this amazing planet the way that he does. He takes things on, and he's an ambassador for these amazing species of all sorts across the planet, as you can see on his Instagram, or hopefully you've watched some on YouTube today on our YouTube channel, because you can see what's being discussed at the time too. And make sure to check out our website at beyondthewildpodcast.com. You can see more information as well as more details from each episode there, as well as pertinent links. Thanks again, Eli. Ron, go for it.
Eli, Mark kicked out your Instagram page before, but where can people find your trips?
Well, if they want to visit us, they can visit sdmdiving.com is our website. That's where we, that's pretty much what we lead. Our SDM Diving is our Instagram and our, I believe our Facebook as well. So yeah, sdmdiving.com is where they can see what we do and, learn a little bit more about us.
The page is open on my Safari, by the way. It's open as I scroll and check the dates, and it's like Tonga, when? Someday. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, it's always a pleasure to talk with you and hear about your adventures. Looking forward to next time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. Guys, it's been great to hang out. We'll see you again for next week's episode.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.